Good morning, my neighbors. It is a great day today, and I want to share. Oh my God! Of course, it will be my camera is going to act up at the wrong time. Let me see what's going on with it. All right, got the right sound. It's doing what it's supposed to. Let's do a nice little reset. Of course, this would be giving me all types of trouble right now. So, little caveat, because this is a complete microcosm of everything I've been going through. Trying to bring y'all as good content as possible. Um, talking to the production team, and they're like, "Hey, Jeff, we need to have certain things at certain times." And I'm like, "No, it just takes you a few minutes to edit the video and all this stuff." And they're like, "No, that's not how it works." There we go. And let's angle this. There we go. That way I don't see my tablet and my other screen. Okay, there we go. Right, and it's just been a little bit of an adventure. Just to kind of like wrap it all together in a bow, it's it's almost like everything that I thought about it is not it. So what they just told me is that, hey, it's probably best that you do something a little bit overnight, and then we'll edit it, get it ready, get it to premiere on YouTube by 8 a.m. Because I want to get it to y'all 8 a.m. That way you're prepared and you can be able to attack the market. So, pardon my dust. We're back over and live for right now because, again, trying to do it overnight and still be fresh because I want to get fresh news and bring it to you versus just turning around and giving you some stale stuff. Like it's just such a weird thing. So I gotta put some thought to it. Maybe record my stuff at midnight. I don't know. If anyone has any suggestions, by all means, I'll take them. But yeah, I have to come up with a solution that is feasible, where the information is authentic and clear enough, so that way I get in really, really good content, and at the same time, I can get it the production the way I want it. I want it a certain way so that way it's engaging and entertaining and everything else, and it has to be recorded to do so. Like I don't have a live producer in the back. It's I'm the producer, and I am the host, and I am the look. I didn't even set up my labs to go ahead and be able to connect over to my desktop. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get cracking to it. The first thing I want to go ahead and talk about is NQ. It's doing a lot of what I was expecting. Oh, you know what? I think I clicked. Oh, I didn't clear up. Oh yeah, there it goes. There goes my drawings. So here's my drawings from yesterday, and I was very concerned that I was gonna go ahead and uh, mess with my drawings in that regard. But if we really pay attention here, we're talking about a higher low to a lower low on a micro scale, right? So what this can do, it can really affect the market, trying to determine how they want to be able to kind of like pop this up to the upside. Now, first thing you have to address here is that we are at new highs. So the new highs is probably building an order block that is going to be a bearish order block, at least in its inception. Why is that? Because everybody that is on the low side that's been holding on to their position and they're still riding it up, they're going to start taking some of their profits. So you don't want to go ahead and just be the one holding the bag, and then the liquidity comes in, and then it just bounces on you. I don't know if you ever experienced that, where you get inside of a trade, you hold it longer than you're supposed to, and then when you get out, and then I don't know, it pops right back up, and I'm like, oh man, I knew it was there, and it just had to hit my stop loss. No, 9 times out of 10, you're just entering wrong. That's what it really boils down to. If you're entering right, it should spring with the support of everybody else along the lines of that. So just keep that in mind. All right, so let's keep this party going. We got oil. The inventory reports is going to be coming out today, so look out for this. Again, they still in this stagnant, very annoying, choppy stuff. None of this craziness that was here. And I listen. I'm not saying that I want oil to drop. I'm just saying I don't see how the fundamentals of oil fits in 2025. Over here, we got ourselves a nice solid wedge, and you can see gold is starting to get to that top side of that wedge, right? And I tried to explain this to y'all. So if y'all played gold, you should be really really happy, and it still looks like that W. You might get that extension into that 3600. Over here is silver. Silver is trying to make its break to that $40. That's what I've been telling y'all, right? So that's another one. British pound, it is getting through that block. Remember that block? We got a nice solid close inside of here yesterday. The first thing they did is continuation to the upside. The funny thing about it, I was actually looking at some areas of shorting the market, and there was a couple of pops where it looks like we were going to get a nice little solid retracement and then probably run for the upside. Each and every one of my sell-offs overnight literally just took my stop loss, and they just continued to push it up. So we're going to see how this works in the New York session. Over here is Bitcoin. After they got back to that 120, massive sell-off. Of course there is, because it makes almost no sense to kind of create this as an order block. Now mind you, it can hold. It could be this is our order block. Very possible. I'm not knocking it. But what I won't agree on is that at the end of the day, that it doesn't need to come check out that fair value gap. Now I know some IC2 purists. They messaged me. This was like months ago on how fair value gaps work. Not this one in particular, but this was, and they're like, well, you don't want it to touch the fair value gap at all because it tells you this, that, and the third. And I'm like, listen, the fair value gap is there because there was an imbalance, and people are going to cash out the profit. So that imbalance needs to be addressed. It doesn't matter how that works. So the very very interesting concept on that regard. I'm one of the ones that just thinks that all fair value gaps has to be tested, just like all types of supports are supposed to be tested. So if this is a support, where's your test? You can't just have a one test and then just run. Well, you can, but it's much more better when you have like two touches, three touches, and it continues. Here's the Russell. I gave y'all the warning. I think Russell's going to continue to go up. I do think that they are coming up to an order block that is going to give it a little bit of difficulty when it's all said and done. This is that area. A solid close around here. Probably going to go ahead and get up into the top register of this, what's that, 2400-ish? Oh, no, not even. Not even 2300, but I think we're going to go ahead and get above 2400. That is going to go ahead and test that 2500. I think ultimately, if this continues, they're going to try to get to this 2500 in itself. And then last but not least is the undeniable and unfathomable. Unfathomable. I'm over here trying to throw all types of words. The undisputed champ of the world was what I used yesterday. The original Don Dada. I like messing around with the dollar. It's the dollar. Like, again, a lot of things I feel are circled around the dollar. So that's why I like messing around with the name of what I call the dollar. Because I feel like it holds a lot more strength. And it can kind of give you a little bit of a prediction on where the market's going to go. Nice little curl over in the stochastic, letting us know that the MACD might be following through. It's already in the bearish state, so they can liquidate this all the way down. If they take out... I just hit the wrong button. If they can take out here and here, then we're going to go ahead and get some lower lows. So I'm curious on what's going to happen there, because then that will make me wonder what happened with this pivot here and what type of conversation were they having with 98.95. That said, it will be a future difficult one, because what was previous support will turn into resistance, and this is another resistance right here. So if this thing starts to take out, we're going to have a tough time getting through that 98.95 later on in the future, which is probably going to be maybe going into Santa Rally, maybe going into the end of July, whatever the reason. But this is going to be a very, very difficult one later on. So look out for the level of 97.45 and 96.377. Yep. These two areas is going to ask a lot of questions on where the market is going to go. All right, go ahead and pull out a pen and a pad, because I'm going to go ahead and bring it in hot. It's the news we are going to cover. Let's go ahead and get this ready for y'all. And where are you? Oh, actually, I'm kind of got the wrong thing up. All right, let's go ahead and fix that problem. All right, why would that be there? Because that is not the one. All right, clear that, clear that. Oh, okay, it can't find the name. All right, let me fix that problem. Boom, boom. All right, let's see if that fixes it. There we go. All right, that fixed that, but it still messed with my display because of why? Why are you messing with my chart? It's actually showing what I saw on Crunchyroll, which is crazy. Like, why is that showing up? All right, let's just shut this down. Maybe that'll fix the problem. And that did not. And you see why I want to have this recorded, right? This is exactly the reason why I've been having a lot of interesting stories with this hard drive thing. So let's fix this problem. Let's get that. All right, NQ8. NQ8. There we go. All right. Now that's fixed. All right. All right. So the first thing we got over here on the news is the fact that we have ourselves a little bit of news that's going to be coming up. We got existing home sales. If you look at the report on DR Horton, which I kind of told y'all that about yesterday, DR Horton had a very, very, very interesting earnings. They gapped up. It looks really, really solid. I won't be surprised that they test it, of course, but we're going to see what this existing home sales has. We already had the mortgage reported. It's already been sent. So that's going to be coupled with this existing home sale. So look out for that. That's going to be around 10 o'clock. Then we got a 17-week build coming in. And then we have inventory for oil. And this is the one that I'm really trying to key off on and see what's going on. And then, of course, tomorrow we're going to be dealing with a lot of Euro stuff and then the initial jobless claims with the new home sales month over month. And we got, there's one more I wanted, the Fed balance sheet. So these things are going to be very interesting. PMI is also going to be interesting, but I'm really worried about the jobless claims and the Fed balance sheet. I want to know how much are they levered so that way they can go ahead and let us off the hook with these high interest rates. So it's going to be very interesting how that goes. So let's go ahead and start with some of the other stuff that we got in the news. The first thing we have is charts are showing signs that tech could pull back in the near term. Of course, we've been hitting all types of new highs and everything else. So that's why I like charting NASDAQ, because on the NASDAQ you could kind of see a lot of the stuff that's there, right? We're trending down, and if people started selling, it's probably going to go ahead and force this thing to kind of push right back up again. So that's where it kind of, is it the retailers? Is it the market makers? Which one is kind of like holding the bag right now or holding the support right now? So this is going to be very interesting to kind of see how tech responds. If it did pull back, and we did the exercise yesterday, if we take the whole entire leg using April as such, we're talking about these type of levels here. Switch this up to main. Something along the lines to 236, 382, 50%, maybe 618. I would say the 50 EMA would give it some trouble around the 236. The 382 would give it some trouble around the 200 EMA. Like, these are the things that you want to kind of look at. If we come back all the way over here, you already can see my 800s there. That means we're starting to like really reverse. I don't think we're going to get 18,000. Like, this was a shocker to the system already. Predictable, but a shocker. And it's showing signs very similar as such. So we're going to see, does it hold or does it do something relatively fine? All right, let's keep this party going. All right, Bitcoin could pull back with equities. So this is coming back to almost the same thing as tech, but they're saying the rest of equities in the coming weeks. Again, I'm going to say it like this. Buy the rumor, sell the news. If they're talking about that it could be coming in the next couple of weeks, and these are analysts, that means they see something in that regard. But that means a lot of it already started. I don't think that this thing is going to be coming down like they so-called think it will. I think what's going to happen here is three things, right? The first thing that I think is going to happen, Bitcoin, as I showed y'all earlier, Bitcoin needs a little bit of a pullback, right? It's been in this area. It does look like a pennant. It does look cute. But if people are starting to buy this news, right, they're going to start getting out of their position, and that's going to let this kind of drop down into lower points, right? Letting companies like a Piper Sandler to pick up the pieces and let this thing rally some more, right? Um, so when you're seeing this news, I want you to be objective. I want you to go to your chart. All right, Bitcoin could pull back. All right, cool. Where can it pull back? All right. Well, the first thing I've always taught y'all, if you have been into some of my classes, I explained to y'all that there is no such thing. This is if I find my arrow. There's no such thing as a lower low without a lower high. So when you're seeing this, do not just go ahead and slap on a trend line and be like, all right, this is a lower high. You don't know if that's the real pivot. That thing might just go right through and then take you all through here, right? And then start to really liquidate your short position. So you don't want to think that this lower high is going to do that. You want to have it at a point where at the end of the day, when I'm looking for a downtrend, there's going to be the point that started. Let the smart money and all that stuff come back in. Let them go ahead and position themselves, and then it creates a lower low. When it breaks this point, that is your confirmation. If something looks right about right here, cool, no problem. Go ahead and light position, but your full position should be somewhere around here, allowing yourself a little bit of margin of error, right? So when we're looking at the fact of what's going on with Bitcoin, let's go back over to Bitcoin. We got this whole entire move on this upside has been ripping and roaring since April, getting us into this one. We went from 75 to all the way almost to 125, right? We got peaked out at 123. I still think they want to see that 125,000 level, right? So if they want to see that 125,000 level, guess what we need to see? We need to see a nice low pullback. So let's do this exercise, right? So if we're talking about higher lows and higher highs, right? So this is our higher low and this is our higher high. That means our trend line is probably following this trend here. Nice and respectful. You still should be doing deviations because again, this is not coming back to the line and bouncing like a basketball or taking a stair step. It's deviating away from the trend. This is a pivot. It turned from there and broke other levels. So that means that's from here and here. All right. Now it's starting to make a little bit more sense, right? So now we got this angle right here, and we got to ask ourselves this question: since this was that pivot here, and that's what was holding us here, are these buyers still in? Well, those buyers are no longer in as soon as this happened from here to here, and we just consolidated sideways the whole entire time. And you can kind of see that, right? So now we try to get back up in here yesterday, right? That is what I've been keying off on. Like now Bitcoin looks like, hey, they might use this order block, but it's not the most healthiest of trends. It needs to find out how much people are in this impulsive move, because this could have been FOMO fills. This could have been market makers closing off their position. It could be a whole bunch of reasons on why we spiked up to here to create such an imbalance. What do we do with that information? So as Piper Sandler is telling us Bitcoin could pull back with equities in the next couple of weeks, it's very possible. But what I won't agree is if this order block holds, resets the stochastic, it gets this thing to kind of turn up, we might drift right into that 125, and then that would probably do like a rising wedge, double top, head and shoulders, all that type of stuff. So this is what you want to kind of, so news is great, but come back to the chart because the chart don't lie and numbers don't lie. All right, let's go ahead and keep this going. I kind of went a little longer than I want on that one. This one is Goldman recommends F1 racing stock sees outsized capital returns. If this is more for the international type of traders, if you're in like London, New York, London or France or whatever, these things kind of fall in our OTC on this side. So let's go ahead and pull the first one, LLYVA. Let's see what's going on over here. All right, this is a Series A. Actually, this is American base. Ooh, hold on. Let's see something. Provides live okay, that's a little weird. It doesn't even have a description. That's the media. It just says provides live entertainment services. I don't know how I feel about that. when I come to a company and it has no description whatsoever, I'm gonna find that very questionable. That it only says live entertainment services. That's all it says down here. Let me open it this way so I can see what I'm talking about. No description. No information whatsoever. Like, who are you? Right? Provides right here. Provides live entertainment services. What is that? Normally, when I get a ticker, let's do Netflix for example. When we scroll down, it says about Netflix, right? And it gives detail and it gives some type of summary of what the hell you do, right? A nice little paragraph. And that company just said, no, we don't feel like doing that. So this is going to be very interesting. Let's just look at the chart. Let's look at the chart. Let's not be that guy or that woman or that person. It's 2025. I don't want to get canceled. I just started my YouTube. All right, so that looks like a nice little uptrend. They started in the middle of 2024. It looks like a rising wedge. This is what I was. This is the thing that I'm kind of thinking Bitcoin's going to do. It's going up, but it's starting to get really, really tight as it tries to get through areas of resistance. In the case of a resistance on Bitcoin, would be 125,000. That'll be the resistance. But this area was its peak, and you could kind of see we're coming there. They're trying to use it. They're getting a nice little wedge, but if it never makes an explosion, that means the sellers might overtake it. So this is going to be very interesting. So this uptrend kind of looks like this right now. And you could see much more tighter. It's getting tighter. If this thing doesn't explode to the upside, might have a little bit of problem. Ooh, and there's a bearish divergence. So we got bearish divergence here, bearish divergence here and here. Perfect example of buy the rumor, sell the news. They're saying sees outsized capital returns. They probably already see the returns currently, and right now they're about to pass the bag really quick to someone that's not paying attention. So I would say for the most part, if you're considering to take this to the upside, wait for this thing to reset the stochastic, kind of like what they did here. They resetted the stochastic at this level. MACD was looking like it was going to go down. Nice impulsive move to the upside, made higher highs, but that higher high is not following through from the histogram and the oscillators. So this thing could be exhausted and they're tired of making higher highs. So just keep that in mind. The other one they have is F-Wonk. F-Wonk. I don't know that one either. Liberty Media Corporation. Okay, so my assumption is this is like a, I won't say Disney Plus, but it's what I want to say. What's that damn Fubo? No, Fubo. Fubo. That's what I'm thinking. Fubo TV. Probably like a Fubo TV type of thing where they're providing only the, okay, so they got two different series. So it's the same as the other one, Liberty Media Corporation, same company that owns it. Let's see if there's any information on this one. Okay. All right. So now this is a little bit more sensible. Let's get to the point. All right. So this might be the original company, and then they got the sister company, kind of like Google, that has the A and B. So Liberty Media engaged in the media entertainment series industries. It operates through Formula One, other segments. The Formula One segment is involved in global sports business that holds exclusive commercial rights to the championship. Company was founded in 1991. Oh, so they probably just IPO'd. I think that's probably what is driving this. Okay, hold on. Let's take a nice little step back. I am going deep into this one. This is going to be very fun. And this is our last article. Anyways, let's see. 1991. So you've been around for a while. Let me go to a monthly chart and see how this really looks. So they IPO'd in 2015. Has been nothing but uptrends. EPS is positive. You already know how I feel about EPS being positive. That last earnings was insane compared. Only generating 447 million. This one, like down here in Miami, we have the F1 over at the Dolphin Stadium. That thing's been getting bigger and bigger each and every year. I think they're gonna probably just have more places to do some of their tours or their races, not tours. I'm thinking about tennis. So this is probably those TV rights type of responses. So if you're very curious, that probably is why they are saying that. But I do feel like a lot of the momentum is already gone. Look at that weekly; it's already curling over, and they got earnings reporting on the 7th. Still look like a rising wedge ish. Ooh, F Wonk looks a little bit better. Why Wonk? Why? I think they're trying to get F1, but they put a K at the end. That's very interesting. I don't know how I want to take that, but it looks very interesting. So just maybe, you know what? This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna put it on the board. When I find something that is very interesting, I want to know what's going on with it. I'm gonna put that one right on the board. I think it's Alt W. Nope. Shift W. Oh my God, I want to be able to put it in my watch list. There's a shortcut key for it. There we go. Got it in my shortcut. All right, so let's go ahead and get right to it. We got earnings that's coming up, and with earnings comes great responsibility. So the first thing I want to do is cover a couple of the tickers that I already went over on yesterday. We're going to do this relatively fast because I am a little behind schedule. You already know about Hilton. This one has been a really strong company. It's one of the companies that hasn't touched pandemic lows. I think they are well ran, and right now we got a nice little crossover, and their earnings was in line. I guess we'll kick. I like double digits, then I'll say it's a good surprise, but this is in line. They've given 15 cents extra per shareholder, found an extra $40 million, which is good. So they're bringing money back to the table. This is probably pullbacks as people are getting ready for dividends, and they're probably cashing out there. AT&T, they reported their earnings and they are falling, which again, they are falling because they are terrible. No, I'm just playing. They are a very complicated company in itself. They have way too many shares floated, and I really want them to kind of do a reverse split, but we'll see how that goes. Next Era Energy. This is the energy company I told y'all about yesterday. Very good at utilities. A lot of people say you should have utilities in there. I love seeing stuff like this where they miss on revenue. They lost about 7%, and because it's an energy company, it could be multiple reasons on why that happened. But if you really think about it, how are you still returning more money to shareholders? So that's a nice little surprise. So they're doing more with less. I love seeing stuff like that. So if you are trying to build your dividend case, plug in a utility. Next Era is not too bad. They do give 56 cents per share, so it's probably a good one to accumulate. Let's keep this going. Goog or Goog L. Let's go with Goog L because I got a nice little setup on Goog L anyways. It's down pre-market after having a pop to the upside. This one is going to be very interesting for the fact that we're trying to fill the gap and we're getting earnings tonight. So this is going to be very interesting because if this thing doesn't like close the day up there, then I'm going to be like, okay, maybe the earnings is not going to be in line. But then part of me is like, I don't want to get caught in a trap because any part of this gap could be a rejection area, and then you could wake up to your portfolio being down a whole lot. We are making a golden cross as we're going into the gap. So I would say do not risk money that you don't mind losing if you're considering carrying this over earnings. I don't suggest it. Now, the company as a whole is sound. They are coming up on the monthly where they've been kind of the laggard compared to your NVIDIAs and everything else. And they are in the space of AI. Look at Microsoft. Microsoft's been drifting up all damn year. So if you really think about it, I want to see this thing kind of give a nice little pop. Probably could get to that 210 without any hesitation. But do not be risky and try to carry this over earnings. JD did not say for you to do that. All right, so tonight we also have Tesla, which I say everybody's just sitting, kicking their feet up, and the market's probably going to move based on how Tesla relatively moves. It got above that 323 level that I've been talking and preaching since a couple weeks ago. Looks really solid. They even tested it yesterday, and I think we're going to stay above 323. That said, we're probably going to make a beeline to 350. That support should bring us back into the gap of 400, and I think that's all they have. I think they're going to miss their earnings. I think that with all these companies, there's some really nice EVs. Mercedes has a nice EV. BMW got one, but I still don't like the fact that they had what they did with the i8. I thought it was a really sound vehicle, but it was it kind of missed the bar. Then what they should have done is redid the i8 as a pure EV, so that way we could get a Tesla Model S type of killer. But anyways, that's a whole nother conversation. Rivian. Lucid is still around, even though it's in the graveyard. Well, they kind of dig the ditch and about to toss them into the graveyard. So it's still somehow, some way, someone's still driving a Lucid somewhere. Fisker is under the dirt. So Tesla is probably really trying to see if they can push the envelope. They did the refresh with the Model 3. They did the refresh with the Model Y. I think the X and the S is probably going to need a refresh as they going into that. That way they can really set themselves apart. I hope he gets away from politics. I hope in the earnings call he gives us something that is like, wow, maybe an advancement of the robotics, maybe something with the Neuralink, maybe well, they already have the, is it Gronk AI? I think they already have the AI space. Maybe they got something that's generating revenue from that side. They're already going to put Gronk inside the Tesla vehicle. There's just so much that they could be doing, but that's the one that I'm very curious about, is what the market going to do when Tesla reports. And then TMUS, I've been looking at this one and I was expecting this bad boy to come down. I didn't say I wanted to trade. Anyways, TMUS, I did not like the fact that it kind of did a nice little pop-up. You could tell I've been charting the crap out of this one. But when we kind of got into this area, I was looking for them to kind of like hold down the nice little gap. So they might be coming right back to what I consider a nice entry as we get to earnings. I think whatever fall happens, they're going to bounce. They are a good company. They do return money to shareholders. They do pay a dividends. It is a little pricey compared to most companies that pays dividends, but they're considered also a growth company. But cell phones is very vanilla. So I want to see what they got for the earnings, something in their pipeline, what they're going to bring into the plate. Because if they stop growing, then I'm going to need for you to go ahead and either split and get ready to sell off. Kind of like what Chipotle is kind of doing, but that's a whole nother conversation. Let's go ahead and talk about tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, we got companies like Dow. This one's going to be reporting. This is a chemical company. If you don't know them, looks like we're getting a nice little curl here. Let's see in the monthly. Is that pandemic low? Ooh, this might be your double bottom here. Yeah, that's the pandemic low. If they could get a nice little bounce here, they could go ahead and put some pressure on the bears. So just keep an eye on Dow. If you're an investor, 70 cents per share is not bad for a $29 stock. Just keep that in mind. So if you're looking for something for dividends. VLO, this is Valero. And the reason why I tossed this in here was because a lot of people are like, well, oil is going to do this, that, and a third on everything I see in social media. And I am more of a oil bear, right? Not all the way fully, but just I think they're getting some competition. So VLO, I don't like what it's doing here because it looked like we're coming to that block. It's not as clean as CVX. CVX had some. Why is this thing taking so long? CVX, thank you, CVX, get there. Not as much as how CVX, because CVX had this whole entire imbalance. Hence the reason why we popped the way we did. And then when we look at VLO, and plus this, if I'm not mistaken, is it VLO comparison? Let me make sure. Is it international? Houston, Texas. I might be thinking about BP. All right. So because of this block right here, makes me a little concerned that it might not give you any more highs. So I think there's more opportunities on the downside than the upside. So just keep this on your radar in the event that this thing starts to act a donkey. NEM is reporting tonight. Materials company. Sorry, not materials. Minerals, metals, and other stuff. They provide things like gold, gold, copper, silver, lead, ink, like this. They just do a lot of different things over there. It came straight to this order block, so I'm looking for a proper rejection off of here. But we'll see how that works out. They're gonna give us their earnings report, $4 billion in revenue. Last time they did their earnings, it was about 5. When they reported, it's like 4.7. They surprised everybody with a 1.25 when they were expecting 91. So I want to see if this earnings is going to be in line because they kind of raised it here. And is that raise in here? Is it priced in? Is it going to be a surprise again and then they gap this up? Would be very interesting, especially with the whole build back better. Not build back better. Big beautiful bill. It's just so funny how Trump trolls. Anyways, moving on. I just realized if he did BBB, he just like. I'm a little slow. I apologize, y'all. Oh my God. Anyways, moving on. Intel is another one that is not in the dirt. I think some people still take this as a dividend play, but since they removed their dividend, is this the reason why they're in the basement of the bottom? That's it, Intel. Maybe it's time that you just sell to AMD. That way you can go ahead and attack NVIDIA in the best form possible. This is not working. At least shareholders don't believe in you. And this does not look like a W. You might go ahead and report something very positive, and all you're going to do is just continue to go sideways. Ooh, 1,000% extra is what you found here, and that still didn't go ahead and push you to the upside. So, that said, Intel, holler at me. I'm telling you, I got some things, mergers and acquisitions. I'll help you. All right, let's go ahead and keep this going. In the earnings cycle, I got a couple of things I'm going to keep my eye on. IBM for, of course, AI space. I've been looking at this. I felt like it was too far removed, so I've been watching it from the outside in, only because I wanted to kind of cool down, and it came back to one of my second deviations of the trend line. If this part holds, I may consider to try to play this and try to play this to the 300 level. City is still ripping, and I'm telling you, I am still kicking myself. I was looking at that 72, waiting for a breakout. Silly enough, didn't put an alert, and it broke out, and you could kind of see nice, almost $20 move to the upside. That would print a lot of option contracts, and I kind of missed that wave. To kind of give a recap of some of the tickers that we're going to be dealing with, some of them are going to be for our next earnings cycles, like NVIDIA. NVIDIA had hit 175. I think this is a good solid pullback for a company like NVIDIA. I would love to see this at 150 again, 156, and it'll just go ahead and rip roar right back to 180. I think they're that strong. But right now, we got to pull back, and they're pushing it right back up right now. We're up at 169, so just keep an eye on that. Their earnings is reporting in August 27. And the last one I want to bring up is CCJ. CCJ was one that we kind of talked about a while back. Back when it was like around that $72, $73 level, and you could see that it got to 75 with no hesitation during the July 18th expiration date. So we got a nice little pop on that, made a few percentages points on that one. It did shoot up on the 18th even further. Shout out to those that carried some runners. Congratulations on your W. But generally speaking, I think CCJ does need a little bit of a cool down, even though clean energy is coming like a freight train to every single person in that oil industry. This is another one that I'm keeping an eye on against companies like I pulled up CVX. All right, that said, I want to say thank you very much for participating with BYTTT. My goal is to give you as much information as clear as possible. Down below is the link for you to go ahead and order up charts. If you want me to chart it out for you so you can plan your trades, by all means, there's a discount code down below. Also, free one-on-ones is still available. Go ahead and click the link. Set up your booking. I am willing to help you get to the point that you are looking for. That said, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and the bell button. It helps the algorithm with Google, or aka YouTube, and that will help this channel grow even further so I can pay more of these productions, make them work a little faster on my videos. Anyways, thank you, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.